Welcome to one of the most complex kettlebell moves alive. Was that dramatic enough?
That was pretty dramatic there.
No joke, this is definitely a technical exercise, okay? So I just wanted to go ahead and throw that out there. We did go through a series of the swing and how to kind of break that apart piece by piece, technique-wise. Now, we got a very specific type of a question for the snatch, and I know that there's different techniques with this, but one in particular is, how you let it drop. And you were telling me about two different types of drops that you wanted to highlight today.
The two types of drops as it relates to the snatch, which is in my experience where most people tend to have the most challenge with. The first type of drop is going to be a type of drop that relates more to, let's say, a hard style technique where I'll just demo it so you can see. The lower body on both these movements, I'm going to keep it pretty simple, is just going to be a hinge base movement, but pay attention to the drop on this variation. So what you'll see on that variation is more the kettlebell flipping over the top. Did you catch that?
Caught that, yeah.
So this variation is a little bit less technical, and if you're preparing for, let's say, a strong first test or an RKC test, which is going to be 5 minutes of 100 snatches, this is the technique that you would have to really work on. Now, if you're using this technique, which my experience is also just a little bit less technical, it can go wrong in a lot of ways. So if this is the technique that you need to use, where this tends to go wrong is when people cast the bell away from the body. So the further away from the body,
more problematic.
More
problematic. Things are gonna happen, yeah.
Especially if the lifter's timing isn't ideal with the hips. So if I cast out here, the weight's here, the axis of rotation is here, and if the timing is not right to where I wait, make contact between the forearm and the pelvis before I go back, the weight's out here, maybe I pull the hips out early on the downswing here, this is a lot of torque and a lot of pull on my back. So if you're using this swing, one of the secrets to this is you want to think almost like you're, let's say, flipping a basketball or shooting a hoop.
Shooting free throw.
Hoops, but make sure it keeps close to the body. So it's not out here, it's right here, and then you feed it down the center line and behind the body, and as you come up, it's kind of the same thing, it stays close to the body, and then you punch your hand through. So if you're using that technique, just make sure it comes close to the body.
Okay.
Now the second technique, as it relates to the drop on the snatch, this is a drop that I first learned when I was learning kettlebell sport, because we're talking about long durations, you want to be as efficient as possible with the movement. And this, for me personally, whether I use a hinge-based technique on the snatch or more of a pendulum-based technique on the snatch, the drop for me usually doesn't change. I typically, you can think about it like corkscrewing the hand. So I'll demo it first, then we'll break it down.
Great. Yeah, so that definitely feels like more of an unraveling as opposed to a finesse, sort of a soft cast like you were mentioning before. So yeah, walk us through that.
So on this type of drop, here's the overhead position. So the first thing that happens is I lean my torso, I deflect my torso back. Now when I deflect the torso back, what's happening? The kettlebell is staying closer to the midline as opposed to staying here and casting out from here. So I'm leaning back so the kettlebell once again is closer to the midline. Now from here, all I'm doing is turning my palm up. So there's a slight lean back, the palm's up. Now, if you can think of the kettlebell, the correct position of the bell should be about a 45-degree angle into the heel of the palm. That's the handle position. I'll show it real quick. That's the correct handle position. So I'll do this in slow-mo. I'll kind of do it a strength-based movement. Right. I'll lean back just slightly. The arm is straight here. Now, as the bell starts falling and comes here, it jumps into the fingertips. So I lean back, transition to the fingers, and then I allow the elbow to bend and I make contact between the upper arm and the torso. So now the kettlebell is just falling with gravity. I'm not casting it out, bringing it close to the center line. And the idea here is to make sure on both snatches, before you actually feel the weight in your hands, the arm should be fully straight. Okay? So a lot of people tend to...
Before you even grip it, you want to make sure you get that lockout.
You want to make sure that's locked out, and then you receive the kettlebell. You don't want to come down here. You don't want to turn this. The idea is to have it in the fingertips. You deflect back. You allow the upper arm to catch the torso, and then it's straight there. Then you move back.
So now you're rotating it now to a more neutral position, so you're not all the way rotating it as you're reaching back through your swing.
Kind of similar to the swing segment we did earlier in terms of what should the hand position.
Yeah.
On the snatch, for me personally, in this situation, I personally like going thumbs back.
Okay.
But then as I come through, it opens up here. So it kind of goes palm up. You see that corkscrew, it's in the hand, and then it rolls.
So you're going through like the full rotation.
I'm allowing it to rotate, but when I connect, it's here, thumbs up, and then it rotates there. But the drop phase is really where a lot of lifters have trouble with. And also on the snatch, most always the limiting factor is the grip. So you want to make sure all these little details kind of happen.
Does that actually save the endurance a bit on the grip, especially like doing the rotation here, then doing the rotation here, long term?
Long term, in terms of the snatch, maybe not so much the rotation, but in terms of actually getting it into the fingers at the right time. Because that was one of the biggest things that I learned and really helped out my snatch, is when I would transition, I was grabbing it too tightly. So I was grabbing it too tightly, I wasn't absorbing the weight.
Exerting too much energy when you shouldn't.
No, I mean, if you were to do this all day, what do you notice getting active?
Big pump there in the forearm.
Big pump. The finger flexors have much more endurance than these guys. So you want to make sure that the wrist is neutral, the elbow's fully straight, and you've absorbed it with a nice upright torso at the right time, as opposed to being here.
Yeah, got it. Which is pretty funny, because that's what most bodybuilders are seeking, is that pump. And this is something that was like alien to me coming from an athletic background. That's where we're always trying to be more efficient in our movement, especially when you're talking about endurance and things like that. So anyway, more just great gems out of that, and hopefully that should help the more technical lifters out there, kettlebell wise. And we appreciate you again coming down to the studio here, Mike. And if you guys would go ahead and check out our 30 days of coaching, entirely free. And we just will go ahead and give you nice, healthy tips, mobility-wise, nutrition-wise, training-wise, to enhance your entire experience with your health and fitness pursuits. So until we meet again, this is Mike Salemi and Justin Andrews. We're out.